This. Hey, hello. This is Dipjot Singh Bakshi, and I am a student of Seneca College. And this is my entrepreneur project for the BAM101 course. So I am here with Mr. Rohan Singh. He's like an entrepreneur. He owns his own business of a organic soap manufacturing unit in like the India. So yeah, hi, Mr. Rohan. How are you?
I'm good, Divya. Thank you for having me.
Yep. So I've already introduced yourself. So would you mind introducing yourself for the interview?
Right, perfect. You have already mentioned my name is Rohan,
Yep.
and I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I'm involved in the manufacturing of organic soaps. So I'll talk about the products in detail further, but as far as my education background is concerned, I did my bachelor's in business administration from University of Fraser Valley. Then I started my own business. I became a full-time entrepreneur and started my own business as an organic soap manufacturer.
Yep. And like, what's the name of your business?
The name of my company is Lab Lessons.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, Hi. So, and also, could you tell me more about your company? Like the how many employees do you have, and the clients do you work with? Is it a B2B or a B2C business? And most importantly, like, what's your product portfolio?
Right. So we are a pretty specific uh, team of individuals. I have around 15 to 20 people who I work closely with on a daily basis, and that's excluding the suppliers and my distribution network. As far as my business is concerned, my product portfolio is concerned, my flagship product is organic soaps that are made out of recycled coffee grains. So what we did was, as a team, we tied up with coffee shops all around the city and all around the northern part of the state. So what we do is we tie up with coffee shops. If they have any coffee waste or anything, we pick that waste up for free, and then we actually use that coffee waste in order to make our soaps, our coffee soaps, because coffee it's actually good for the skin.
Yep.
It's an antioxidant. It helps your skin to glow up.
Yep.
And as far as other variants are concerned, we have variants like aloe vera. We have variants like neem, which is a very uh, traditional Indian soap variant
Yep.
that has been around for ages. We have variants like lemon. I recently just launched a vanilla charcoal because charcoal that's
Great.
something that youngsters are looking uh, towards. So that's my product portfolio.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, do you only deal in like the soaps, or do you have like a sanitizer or like a cream as well?
Right. So before the pandemic, we used to only deal in soaps, organic soaps. But after the pandemic, uh, our product portfolio, we started to manufacture sanitizers as well, because there
Yep.
are two kind of sanitizers. If you go into it detail, mainly two kind of sanitizers. There's alcoholic sanitizer and there's non-alcoholic sanitizer. What we deal is specifically we deal with alcoholic sanitizers, but we have a very high percentage of glycerin. Glycerin, it helps to moisturize your skin.
Yep.
So, and furthermore, we have sanitizers in different variants as well. So not only do you sanitize your hands, but you also have other good qualities in your sanitizer, such that it helps your skin, it helps your skin to glow up. Like we put aloe vera in our sanitizers. We put other different uh, variants that I won't discuss because that's more into detail. But
Yep.
sanitizers, to answer your question simply, yes. Mostly 70 to 75% of our revenue comes from soaps. I would say 20 to 25% comes from
The
sanitizers,
sanitizer.
because it hasn't been long since we integrated sanitizers into our portfolio.
Okay. Yep. That's
Yeah.
good. And like, I also wanted to ask, like, what's the distribution channel you guys are like going with? So like, is it like the traditional stores or the online and yeah,
Uh, See, online, we believe that online is the way to go, especially after the pandemic.
yep,
Businesses that had traditional brick and mortar stores, they went online. We
yep,
were already online before, so we believe that online, if done correctly, it can lead to a huge growth. So to answer your question, we mainly deal in online sales, but we have started to, because things have started to open up, especially here in India, things have started to open up. Stores have started to open up. So as of now, I'm currently working on making sure that my products are placed in convenience stores, in
yep.
beauty shops all around the city. But as of now, as of today, if I was to say, online is the way that our stores work.
So as you mentioned, you serve to the customers like you operate on a B2C model. So do you also like operate like on a B2B model as well on the side? Like you give so like a bulk quantity to like large corporations and other
Yeah,
organizations?
yeah. So we are involved in both B2B and B2. See, I'll give an example that I got a bulk order. B2C is pretty standard. I'm sure I don't need to explain that in detail. But B2B, I got an order the other day. I'll give you an example of how that deal worked out. So there was a boutique shop. I'm sure you know what a boutique does.
Yep,
Yeah. We went and talked with them, and they were interested in our product because the majority of their customers, they are middle-aged women uh, that are very sensitive about what they put on their skin. They're very sensitive about skincare as a whole.
yep,
So we went and had a talk with them, and we came to a deal that they purchased 700 pieces. And what they would do is they had a condition that we would our logo would be there, but we would put a message on the soaps. We would engrain the message on the soaps that they would further give to their customers. So they won't sell the soaps, but whoever comes to their store makes a purchase, they'll give the soap as a complimentary product, or they'll make they'll add on to it
yeah, yeah,
as right. So you get my point.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's something that B2B we are working upon. So yeah.
Okay. And moving on like from the business questions, so I'm asking now, I want to like ask questions about you as an entrepreneur. So when did you decide you want to be an entrepreneur, and like what was the key driving force behind it? So like is it like after you graduate from the college or from the school, or like y- you did you do any job like prior to the your the starting your business?
Right. So I'll give you a brief
Yep,
glimpse into how I discovered my passion. So what I did was, when I entered 10th standard, that's when we were allowed to join clubs in our school. Before that, we were not really allowed to, get involved into club activities.
yep,
So 10th standard, I jumped into club activities. I joined all the clubs there were. There were around 16 or 17 clubs. I joined all of them.
yep,
By the end of that year, I was only involved in one club, and that was entrepreneurship. I had left the other 15 clubs. So you can say that I discovered it by chance, but when you find something that you're passionate about, when you find something that you're interested in truly, it doesn't feel like work. So, and more importantly, I wasn't good at anything else. I wasn't a good, I wasn't good at math. I wasn't good at coding or
yep.
something. Uh, the only interest I had was entrepreneurship, and the power of creating things from scratch and making an impact on people. I think that's something that really interested me.
Yep. And like, what does your typical day look like as an entrepreneur?
My typical day looks like it's pretty standard. I have meetings lined up in the morning with my distributors because COVID has changed a lot. It has changed a lot of things. Earlier, I used to go to Delhi and get my own material supplied, because glycerin is the main material when
Okay.
you're talking about making soaps. You have to make sure that your glycerin is very high quality, because if that's not high quality, the whole product, it won't work out. So I used to personally go to Delhi and get my raw materials uh, uh, transported to my city. But after COVID, my day has changed a lot. I'm on my phone a lot. I was checking my screen time. My screen time on an average right now it's 14 hours a day. So you can see it's
Oh,
more than 50. I spend more than 50% of my day on my phone,
yep.
talking to people, emails. So to give you a brief outlook, I wake up around 6:30. I read the news and see what's going on, and then I plan my day, what I have to do throughout the day, what meetings I have lined up, what orders do I have to fulfill. Then I go to the office. Then I have another meeting where as a team, where we sit and talk about what needs to be done, and then we start to work. I have my own. We have actually divided our tasks, and some people they're more inclined towards finance, so they handle that part. Some people are more inclined towards marketing, so they handle that part. Are more inclined towards operations, so I handle that part. So we after that standard day works. You have to get orders. There's some problem. You have to be on the phone. I solve all of that. Then after that, I I clock out around 6:37.
Yep.
Then after I come home, I tend to switch off and I don't really like to think about my work. And then again, next day it's the same thing. So it's pretty standard.
Yep. And coming back to your business, did you like when you started your business, did you like made your product from the scratch, or did you like found someone else idea and innovated upon it? So like how did you like find the industry, the soap one? Yep.
Uh, See, I would say that I got inspired by someone else's company, what they were doing.
Yep.
So what I wanted to do was I was always interested in sustainable development. I am a firm believer that the next revolution will be that of sustainable development.
Yep.
So I was really interested in that. So I wanted to find out resources, especially in my surroundings, that were being wasted, that I could use in my products and that I could recycle, and I could actually use that and ultimately provide value to the customer.
Yep.
So what I found out was I was just reading through, because I'm as I told you, the first thing I do when I wake up is I read. It may be news, it may be a book, it may be articles. So I like to read first thing in the morning.
Yep.
So one early morning, I was reading an article and I find out that there was a company in Germany
Yep.
that was making coffee cups out of coffee waste.
Oh.
So that's where I got the initial inspiration was. So I was like, all right, so they make coffee cups out of coffee. What can I do? So I thought, all right, so there was a big rush of organic soaps here in India. The whole, because of social media, people being aware, people understanding that chemicals are not good for the skin. So there was a whole wave of people uh, supporting organic products, even if that means paying a little more. So that's where I merged the two worlds together. I was like, I can find waste coffee.
Yep.
Uh, Coffee is good for skin. There's a huge wave of soaps. So what do I do? I merged the two together and I came up with organic coffee waste soaps. You'll find plenty of coffee flavored soaps in the market, but it's very difficult to find companies that recycle coffee and use that coffee to make soaps.
Yep. That's
So
right.
you can say that I did get an inspiration from the German company.
The German company. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And who do you see the main competitors in the industry, like in the soap manufacturing company? Who are the main competitors?
See, the biggest competitor, I'll divide this question. I'll divide your question into two parts.
Yep.
See, there's one that's the organized sector. There are big brands like there's Khadi, there's other brands that are Patanjali or something that are working. big multinational corporations that are working. There's the other unorganized sector where people, mostly women, they start manufacturing, they start making soaps from their homes and start selling them in their localities. So these are two different markets. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to make sure that, because I'm a firm believer that if your product, quality wise, if it's the best in the market, you
Yep.
don't have to worry about competing with a multinational or competing with the unorganized market. So we tend to be aware of our competition indeed, but our main focus is making sure that we understand our customers' needs and we take that input, what a customer needs, and we integrate that into the manufacturing of a product. And that's why we came up with different variants and we didn't only stop with coffee. Because some people, what we through our market research, we found out that because if you wash your hands with our coffee soap, you'll get little grains of coffee,
Yep.
right? Those are actually good for your skin. But some people, they did not really, like the idea of having grains on your hands, even
Mm.
if it means even if that meant that it's good for your skin, they did not really like that. So what we did was we started to get into different variants. That's when we came up with neem. The older segment of the market, we found out that they tend to go for neem. So we started to market our product uh, for the older generation, focusing on the neem variant. Then we
Yep.
came up with other variants. Then we came up with the rose variant. Then we came up with the lemon variant. Then uh, now, recently, a couple of months back, we launched a charcoal, vanilla charcoal uh, variant,
That.
and that's yeah. So that's focused more towards the younger
Yeah, yeah.
market.
Yeah, I saw the advertisement on your social media page, and yeah, it looked very appealing to me. Yeah, so I think that was like mainly targeted towards like the younger demographics, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And like, what are the key market trends in your industry that you like closely follow?
Right. So I've already talked about uh, the market trends that I saw
Yep.
when I came up with the product. I already told you that there's a big wave of organic products, especially here in India.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are moving towards sustainable development as well. People, the EV market as a whole, sustainable development as a whole, it's gaining momentum. As
Yep.
far as right now, what the sources that I look for when I'm talking about the market trends is the biggest is you have to listen to your customers. You have to listen to your customers. You have to listen to your suppliers because those are I because I believe that my customers and my suppliers they are my two ears.
Mm.
So out of one ear I listen to my customers, out of another ear I listen to my suppliers. So right now, if I was to tell you what I plan to do in the future, the trend that I see is uh, as of now the main base for our soaps is glycerin, right? But if you dive into the market, I'm sure you'll do the necessary research for your project. There are different bases for your soap,
Yep.
right? There's not only glycerin, there are other sources as well. So what I'm seeing right now is that uh, there is a huge opportunity for goat milk basis,
The goat milk.
right? Because goat milk basis, not a
Oh,
lot of people know about this,
yeah, yeah.
right? But that's something that a lot of people I see the trend going in that direction because if you read about that in detail it because I look at the raw material or how can I make the product as natural as possible, retain the natural qualities of the raw material that benefits the skin. Now
Yep.
goat milk it benefits your skin tremendously. And
True.
upon that, if I add glycerin, if I add another things or more ingredient list, I think that will be a big hit, right? And on top of that, we are also talking about different designs. So what I'm currently working on right now is a soap, a charcoal soap where there's a swirl of charcoal on the goat milk. So we are working on different designs because R&D is something that I believe it's very important. It provides a sense of excitement
Yep.
in the company as well, because you have to continuously evolve in order to stay relevant. Because
Yep.
if I had only stayed with coffee, for example,
Mm.
I don't think we would have seen the traction that we are seeing.
Okay. So
Yeah.
like you're what I get from this answer is that you're constantly like focusing on the R&D, you're constantly focusing on new products, always eyeing out on the like future trends and driving your the industry in that direction. Am I right? Yep.
Right. And see, I'll give you an example. There was a fair at a very expensive club a few months back. The entry to putting up a stall in that fair was around 80-90,000. So right, so if you compare
The
that in dollars,
INR,
if you
right?
if
Yeah.
so yeah, so if you compare that in, if you convert that in dollars, that's like $800-900,
Yep.
more than that actually. So $800-900 just to set up a stall. There's no guarantee that you'll sell. There's no guarantee how many people will actually buy your product. So spending $800-900, that was a decision that we as a team, we talked about it and we felt all right. So we should do that. We'll learn. So we
Yep.
spent those $800-900. We set up a stall there. We were able to sell quite we didn't make money out of it. You can say a big profit out of it. We did make sales. We did cover that money, but the amount of learnings that we took, what people actually want. So the goat milk idea came out of that uh,
No.
experience only, because there was a lady who came and who asked, do you have, there were like 4 or 5 women who came and asked, do you have any goat milk soaps? So
No.
if I hadn't gone to that fair, I wouldn't have known about goat milk. I would have
Yep.
known about it maybe in the future, but I wouldn't have known about it uh, like this soon. So that is something that I feel it's very important. You have to put yourself out there. You have to take risks, because entrepreneurship is all about taking risks and backing yourself. I think
Yep.
that's the most important thing.
Yep. That's true. And
Yeah.
and coming back to your personal experience about being an entrepreneur, I'm going to ask you like some of the terms and like what comes to your mind when I speak those terms with you as an entrepreneur. So are you okay with it, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. So like first term is like leadership. How do you think that the leadership is important to being an entrepreneur?
See, leadership, uh, I think without leadership, there's no entrepreneurship, there's no startup.
Yeah.
Because leadership, it sets a tone. Leadership, it sets a foundation. So leadership, out of a scale of 10, I think I would rate 10
Yep.
on leadership, the importance of leadership.
Yep. And like aggressiveness.
Yeah, so I've already talked about taking risks.
Yep.
Aggressiveness is it's very important, but adding on to that, you have to choose your battles, right? So aggressiveness blended with a little bit of patience, I think that's the right combination.
Yep, that's true. And like determination, sorry, and like open-mindedness.
Right. See, without determination, I don't think you'll ever find a successful entrepreneur who's not determined,
Yeah.
right? Because there's times where if you're not determined, you'll give up half the way. So determination, it's very important, and open-mindedness, uh, because you work with people of different backgrounds. You have to mesh with people that you don't usually mesh with, but you have to understand that people come from different backgrounds. People have different upbringings, they have different learning, but that doesn't mean their perspective is less important. So
Yep.
understanding everyone's perspective, I think that leads to uh, the best decision possible. And open-mindedness is the biggest factor towards that.
Yep. And I think there's one more like delegation.
Delegation. Now, this is a subject that uh, I've thought about quite a lot in detail. See, delegation, it's about understanding the people you surround with. Because if for example, I talked about that I have people who I know what they're good at. There's
Yep.
some people who work in marketing, I know they're good at marketing. There's some people who work in finance, I know they're good at finance. Now imagine that if I was to delegate the financial work to the marketing team and the marketing work to the financial team,
Yep.
that's a recipe for disaster, right?
Yeah.
So you
True.
have to understand, you have to, before delegating, you need to understand what the person is good at, because not everyone's perfect, right? So
Yep.
for example, I'm not perfect. There are some areas where I'm weak at, and I look for other people's perspective, right?
Hmm.
So before delegating, you need to understand who you are delegating to, the
True.
task at hand, what you need to get done, and the person that you're planning to delegate it to. So you have to make sure that both of them match. Only then the task will get done.
Yep, that's true. And also, like all the days are like not the same. I'm sure you have your times where the sales are bad or like there's a problem in your company. So, like, how do you go about motivating your employees and everyone in the company to keep like the company strong and in the market? So, how do you go about on that?
See, from day one, I wanted to make sure that this was a place that people wanted to work in. There was a
Yep,
sense of positivity around the workflow or a workplace, and even if, because see, uh, out of 7 days, we may have six bad days,
yep,
right? That happens. That has happened in the past, and I'm sure that will happen in the future. And saying that, there are days where we have like big sales, like six days consecutively. Every day we have a big sale. Another day we gonna get a big bulk order. So it's all about making sure that you create a positive uh, environment in the
environment.
work, in the workplace, and even in times of difficulty, even in times of disagreements, because I am a firm believer that disagreements lead to progress. If there are no disagreements, then there's no progress,
Yep,
right? If everyone's thinking in the same way, you're not it won't really, something's wrong if you're all thinking the same. So that's why I like to get different perspectives. And as far as motivation is concerned, there are certain factors, as I already said, that you get a good pay. I think that's very important. You're giving your time, you get a good pay, you
yep,
get a good place, a good, safe, positive place to work in. And we're all working towards something big. We're all working towards a vision we have. We are seeing a trend that we see we can fulfill. And we're all working towards something that we believe it's bigger than ourselves, right? So that keeps us motivated as a company.
that's true. And now coming back to your industry, I'm like quite sure you have already learned about the six E's. Like you already know, you have so much knowledge about the industry, and you already know about the six E's, like the six environments affecting your industry, like economic, technological, political, social, competitive, and geographic. So, like, can you please elaborate that for us? The like the six external environments that can affect your industry.
See, I'm, I'm not really, because it's been a while since I've been out of school.
Yeah.
That's how, so I don't really remember the bookish,
Oh yeah.
E's and all that. Because but I'll try my best to answer your question. What was the first factor?
Yeah. So first factor was like economic.
Right. So economic as an overall, you see where the economy is going, right? You see where the purchasing power lies. I'll give you an example. In times of COVID, uh, people, they were not buying things that were overly expensive, right? They were trying to, because some banks ran out of cash. They were havoc all around. So
Yep.
you need to make sure what's going around in the economy as a whole, because it won't really affect you at the very moment, right?
Yep.
For example, if there was a news to come tomorrow that the GDP fell by, like, let's say 10-15%, it won't really affect me on that very day. But over a period of time, I know the purchasing power of the customer, I know the purchasing power of the client. It will go down, right? So you have to know what's going around in the country as an overall. I think that's very
Yep.
important to know as a economy what's going on. I think that's a must.
Yep. That's true. And the second factor was like technological.
Yeah, see, technological. As I already mentioned, that we are working mainly online,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So without technology, you have to go with time, right?
Hmm.
You have
Yep.
to understand what the customers are looking for. Right now, I would say that technology is something that every business has to,
Adapt.
assimilate in,
Yeah.
adapt and assimilate in, especially after COVID.
Yeah.
So technology, I would say I would rate it as of now. I would rate it the biggest and the most important factor.
That's affecting your business, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And the third is like the political or the regulatory factors in the country you're operating. And
See,
like,
regular. Yeah. So
and
see, because especially because you have to understand, people are using soaps on their bodies, right? So
yep.
it's a very you have to make sure that
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
safe to use, right? So that's something that we pride ourselves in, that we have all the necessary certifications. We went above and beyond to get certifications that we didn't need, but we wanted to make sure that we checked all the boxes, and our customers, they felt comfortable using our product.
Yep.
So political and all of that, I think that comes into this scenario, that the types of regulations there are. The government may ban a certain uh, ingredient
Yeah.
tomorrow
Yeah.
that we may use. So that's something you have to uh, take a look towards.
Yep. And the next factor is like the social cultural factor.
Social culture, could you elaborate on this a little bit?
Yeah, so by social factor, I mean like how the certain type of communities respond to your product. Like for example, like do you like specifically make the product that cater to like a specific like community? Like for example, you can based on their like the race, their ethnicity, their like location. So for example, there's a city in there's a city like sorry, there's a state in India like for the Punjab, so you can always like cater the product according to like the Punjabis. I mean, like you can include their the language, or you can always cater to like based on their demographics, or you can like target the lower end of India, like the southern India, uh, like the Tamil Nadu or that parts. So like it can be like of any like based on their communities, on like their geographics, race. Yeah.
Right. So see, I've already touched upon this previously in my answers, that the variants that we came up with,
Yep.
right? So age was a big factor when we were deciding that. So because we wanted to make sure that we had something for all age groups.
Yep.
That's exactly why we came up with neem. Because neem traditionally, I'm sure you know that for people of older age, they tend to believe, and they're right to a certain degree, that neem has healing properties. Neem has is something that's very good for a health overall, either
Yep.
on the skin or even to digest. People do eat neem leaves or something, right? They
Yep.
do chew on them. So that's something that people firmly believe in, especially the older generation. So that's why we came up with a neem product, to make sure that we cater to the older generation. On the other end of the spectrum, charcoal. Oh, I'm sure the older generation will be very skeptical when they hear the name charcoal written on the soap bar,
Yep.
right? So but that's not necessarily true for the younger generation who's on Instagram, who's on Snapchat, who see the trends, right? So that's where charcoal came into play, and that's specifically for the younger generation. And as far as the region is concerned, you're talking about Punjab, you're talking about the southern part. it, that can be further uh, integrated into a packaging, the kind of packaging that you do, what's written on a package, the kind of advertising that you do, the kind of ads that you put forward,
Yeah.
that can be catered according to your regions. But specifically, as of now, I'm focused on the northern market. And in the future, our plan is to move down to the southern market. And when we do so, before we do so, as a matter of fact, we'll make sure that we understand that market perfectly
Yep.
to and then make the necessary changes either in a product line, either in advertisement, and then enter that market.
Yep. That's good. And the last factor, that is competitive factor, like the competition and all. Yeah, I know you
See,
already talked about, but yeah, but could you elaborate
yeah,
like
yeah, no worries, no worries. So, see, some soaps are already established. There have been a Dettol, for example,
yeah.
that has been here for like the past 2 3 decades, right? So that's already set. It's a very very strong brand image that exists in the mind of the customer, and
Right.
that image is that it's a medicinal soap,
Mm,
right? So
yep.
that's something it so realistically I won't be able to break that. I know. So what can I do? I can come up with flavors that are with the generation that, because see, you won't really find a coffee debt also, right? That
Yeah.
doesn't work. So that, so you see, that's not my market. You have to understand what your market is. You have to understand. Now I'm in my market. I know what Khadi is doing. They make soaps that are organic.
Yep.
I know what they're doing to a very, very, deep degree.
Yep.
Where we beat them is our price point, right? Our prices are substantially lower as compared to them, but the quality isn't, right?
Mm,
So we focus on that, and more importantly, the size of our soap bars. It's like 10 to 15% more than what they offer,
oh,
right? So you have to understand. You have to make sure that your customers are aware about the benefits that you're offering to them. And it's not about degrading other companies, it's not about degrading other brands. You have to understand what your product is good for, what benefits does it provide to the customer. And
yep.
you have to emphasize on that, because at the end of the day, if your product is good, if your quality is high, if you understand your customers better, there's absolutely no way that there's a very low chance, I would say, that you'll go wrong.
Yep. That's quite
Yeah.
correct. And now coming to the last question, what advice do you want to give to someone who is like just starting their own business or plans to like start their own business after the college or maybe after the graduation?
The one piece of advice that I would give is don't be afraid to try,
Yep.
right? Because there's absolutely no one in this world who has done anything without trying. The
Yep.
first step towards doing anything is to try, right? And failing, I say, failing at something, failing at your ventures or something. I'm sure that you have heard this 1,000 times, but I'm telling you from experience, it teaches you a lot,
Yep.
right? Because when that one moment arrives where it counts a lot, that's where you'll count on the learnings that you get from your failures,
Yep.
right? So my one piece of advice would be to experience as many things as possible, talk to as many things as many people as possible, and try. And a personal piece of advice that I would give is travel, right?
Travel.
Travel, meet new people, understand different cultures, because it gives you a different perspective, not only to entrepreneurship but to life as well. So
Yep.
that is something that I would say it's very important.
Thank. I would like to say thank you in the end.
Yeah,
Thank you for your time. I know you have been quite busy, and yeah, I really appreciate you taking out the time for this interview. And yep,
no worries. There's no worries. Good luck. No
yep.
worries.
Thank you.
Yeah.